Get the inside know on today's hottest movies, the classics that made Hollywood great, interviews, behind the scenes, and more. This is the Ryan and Frank Show. Here's your ticket.
I'm Rick Dalton. It's my pleasure, Mr. Schwartz.
Call me Marvin. Put it there. That's your son?
No, that's my stunt double, Cliff Booth.
Last night, we watched a Rick Dalton double feature. All the shooting. I love that stuff, the killing.
A lot of killing.
Hi, folks, and welcome to the Ryan and Frank Show. I'm Frank Russo in New York.
And I'm Ryan Martinez in Los Angeles. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is written and directed by Quentin Tarantino. It's his 9th film starring Leonardo Dicaprio, Brad Pitt, and Margot Robbie. Well, Frank, you and I talked a bit after seeing this film, and you seemed a little ticked off at this one. Why don't you go ahead and tell everyone what you thought?
Okay, Ryan, but my spoiler review is not too pretty. First, I thought this movie was a waste of my time. It was way too long and not my cup of tea. Listen, every film from Tarantino has some good points, but this one had me a little ticked off that the story was so long and drawn out. The story was not a good one anyway. Tarantino has done some super fantastic movies, but for me, this is not one of them. Second, unless you work in the film industry or lived in Hollywood in the 1960s, I just don't get the mass appeal for this film. Two down-and-out guys in acting and stunts going through tough times in the business, that's boring to me. This is what 99% of all actors and film professionals go through. The story was intertwined with a lead-up to the Manson murders, which was also uneasy for me, being that it was one of the sickest and creepiest events in U.S. history that I didn't want to watch again. On a positive note, I've never been a big fan of either DiCaprio or Pitt because they were always 12-year-old looking pretty boys playing grown-ups. But now seeing them in this film, I have a new appreciation of them both. Their acting was excellent, and now being a bit older, they look like men. They were the best things about this movie. But most of the movie was still boring until the last 10 minutes when DiCaprio and Pitt killed the Manson gang. That was the Tarantino twist. Margot Robbie is gorgeous to look at as Sharon Tate, but didn't do anything, and Al Pacino's part was unnotable too. I would have rather watched this one at home when nothing else was on. I feel bad about this movie because I had great expectations. All I can give it is 2 out of 5 on the RF scale. I don't know, Ryan. Tell me if I'm crazy or it just didn't get this film. What did you think?
Frank, I really wanted to like this film, and there was a few scenes that I really did like. Besides DiCaprio and Pitt, this film has a ton of other big Hollywood names making an appearance, like Kurt Russell, Dakota Fanning, and Al Pacino, just to name a few. But I felt like they were extremely underutilized. The movie was well acted by the entire cast, and the movie was well made from a production perspective, but it left a lot to be desired. To me, this felt like a medley of several past films by Tarantino, like Hateful Eight, The Django Unchained, Reservoir Dogs, and Pulp Fiction. Except this film is not as good, in my opinion, as any of them. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a mixture of real life and fictional characters playing out Tarantino's screenplay that takes place over a 2-day period in 1969. In true Tarantino fashion, the character development and dialogue take center stage, but damn, this movie took forever to get its stride. And when I say forever, I didn't even really start feeling engaged until about halfway through the 3rd act in this film. There was a few highlights, most of them involving Brad Pitt's character, like when he kicked the shit out of Bruce Lee on the back lot of a studio. It was funny to see a different perspective on what Hollywood wants you to perceive about something or someone and the way it really is in real life. Of course, this was a fictional scene, but I laughed my ass off. Both Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt are clever and funny. This movie feels like a 1960s movie. What this movie is not is a Manson movie. which I thought was good. It's certainly not an action-packed superhero movie of today, but to me that's refreshing. I think we need more original screenplays being released into the theaters. Don't get me wrong, I love a good superhero movie, but it's nice to see something that is not a reboot, a remake, or completely CGI driven. A few of Quentin Tarantino movies have taken a while to grow on me. I remember seeing several of his past movies and not thinking they were all that great the first time around. Then after seeing them a few times, I appreciated them much more. Tarantino's writing style is very layered, and sometimes it takes seeing the movie more than once to appreciate all the hidden aspects. I would like to do a follow-up review on this film after watching it again, but for now, I give it a 3 out of 5 on the RF scale. Well, Frank, that's my take on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. For everyone watching, to see more of our up-and-coming reviews, please subscribe. Thank you for visiting, and we'll see you next time.
Get the inside know on today's hottest movies, the classics that made Hollywood great, interviews, behind the scenes, and more. This is the Ryan and Frank Show. Here's your ticket.